hello, and welcome to Fava Conversations on this wonderful Sunday afternoon in the month of August. And if you don't believe it, y'all, we're in August. Every time I come here every Sunday and I say these different progressions, it just amazes me how fast this year has gone by. But we're enjoying it all the way through to December. This is our new level, and we're getting it done. Oh my God. I hope you're getting it done with your empowered value, your empowering value all over the place. And that's what God wants us to do with what He's given us so that we can be a blessing everywhere we go. People will call on the name of the Lord because of what we represent, how we represent God everywhere we go. So I hope you're just keeping up with it and keeping it going, because that's what we're doing here. Empowered value, empowering value. And if you're not watching the Olympics, oh my God, you need to go right now and get it going, because this thing right here, our blog, I hope you're checking it out every Friday at 8 a.m. It comes out, Unstoppable. And if you read it, hopefully you're reading it. It said we're focusing on the Olympics because let me tell you, I watch Olympics every 4 years, and I've been doing that since I was a kid. Never gets old. And what amazes me is the relentless perseverance of these athletes. I mean, and now I used to think they made more money than they did. Now we're finding out that a lot of them are just regular people with regular jobs. As a matter of fact, they just brought out a survey that said the average Olympian salary, job salary, I'm not sure if that's just America of the world, is $21,000 a year. So they're not making a lot of money, but they're putting in, like one guy was saying, 2, 3 jobs so they could pay their bills, pay for their training, pay for them to get to the Olympics because they don't get paid. Just a few countries like America pays the gold medalist, like the medalists, not the gold, the medalists, the 3 of them. So in America, they pay, I think it's 39,000 for the gold, 28,000 or something there for the silver, and 15,000 for the bronze. And that's the only thing they give. And then in some countries like Korea and these countries, they pay like over $750,000 for the gold, and it goes down. And then the last one makes 150 something thousand, I think is what it said. So some countries pay a lot, but some countries probably don't even have the money to do that. And so when you see these athletes performing, they're not performing like the people in the NBA and the people in the soccer, the European leagues and the soccer World Cup people and all that. They're not getting that kind of salary. They're getting barely nothing, some of them. One girl, and if you're watching, one girl, she just put up right there, the shot put, I think it was for America, that she's behind on her rent. And I have to applaud. I mean, some of the rappers, they stepped up. Flavor Flav is all over sponsoring everybody in the Olympics, y'all. He sponsored the whole water polo team, and he put together with, I think it was Serena's husband. I think that's who they said. And they came together to help pay that lady's rent. And I mean, more people need to do that, because we're not thinking they're such superstars. We're not thinking that they're like not able to pay stuff, that they don't have a lot of money. We're thinking of them like the NBAs and the tennis stars and everything. No. Some of them are, because like the tennis stars come out and the NBA players come out. But some of them are just regular people who have a dream and who are stepping up and say, I'm going to work to get this medal by the hook and by the crook. And they are working themselves all over the world, because these Olympics are all over the world. Like next year is going to be in the USA, of course. But for some people, that's all over the world. For us, they'll be home, but still. But they have to pay for their trainers. Training is not cheap. Coaches are not cheap. And they do that relentlessly to get a medal. And then they come there and you see them pushing, and I'm pushing with them, and I'm yelling, push, win, run, do whatever, swim, whatever you got to do it. And they're doing it with ease because of the time they put in. And every time I watch Olympics, it speaks to me as an individual. Like sports speaks to me. That is how we're supposed to persevere for the things of God. That is how we're supposed to persevere with our purpose. That is how we're supposed to work. We may not get a dime for it, but if it's what God said, my God, work your tail off to get it done, because that's what will get it. That's what it requires sometimes, to be determined, to be relentless, to have a laser focus that says, I'm getting to that finish line no matter what it takes, and I'm not going to be stopped. We're unstoppable. And when you have God, you're unstoppable. Before I went to church, I was belting out this song, and my husband was like, oh, you belt. I said, you don't understand. When you think about the God we serve, and you think about that's who we have backing us up, you know you're unstoppable, because nobody can stop him. Nothing is impossible with God. Why? Because he created everything. Good God Almighty. The creature can never stop the creator. And when you understand that and get that revelation, it will push you to work tirelessly to become everything God has called you to be, to impact everyone God has called you to impact, to do everything God has called you to do before you leave the earth. And then you drop the mic and you go to meet him. And you can hear him say, well done. And that's what is the motivation. So I'm still watching the Olympics, 1 week gone, another week to go. And I always enjoy it because it motivates me. The things that people put their bodies through, the mindset. One I think it's a gymnast, this gymnast with Simone Biles and all of them. They were saying it's not just having the capability. We train, but our mind has to be right. And if we mess up and we're not focused, that's why she had to drop out of the last Olympics, because she said her mind was all over the place. She was just not focused. And what came normal and easy to her was just not working. So she dropped out. When now she's doing therapy, I think she said every week, like a religion, so she can make sure she maintains the right mindset. Especially if you've gone through trauma and all that kind of stuff, you got to get your mind right about who you are and what you can and cannot do. And that is what you need to go with your body situation to make you unstoppable. And for Christians, we need to stay in the spiritual aspect as well. Get your spirit right. Stay in the spirit, so that God can you can make it through what seems difficult, because nothing is impossible with God. And so that just, oh my God, I am on a high when I'm watching the Olympics. I'm just like, you could do this. You could do anything God has put you to do. If these people could do what they're doing, half of them are not even saved. Half of them don't even know God probably. And they're doing it. How much more can you, with the God you serve backing you up? Nothing is impossible with God. And he will take you all over the world to let people know nothing is impossible with God. Live for him, do what he says, and listen for that voice, because he is talking. But sometimes we're not listening. And when he gives direction, it takes us to measure that we don't even think we can. Some people never thought they'd make it to Paris. And I'm like, oh God. I mean, they made it to Paris, and some of them may never even see the sights of Paris. Well, they may, because I think a lot of the venues where they have the sports, they put them in some of the museums, which I thought was very, very, very good. Because you can say, I played in this, I went to this, and that's where I performed. And they encompass a lot of things, like the Versailles and stuff. They have the equestrian thing in the Versailles, the gardens. So you're experiencing all the history and the grandeur while you watch the games. That's why I think that's the perfect time to go to Paris, right there. And some people are taking advantage of it and they're enjoying themselves. But I'm like, these are the things you have to understand. Like, who would think a person going over there, working hard, and her rent she's back on her rent. But she said, I'm going to go there and win. And I think she won. I think she did. And they're going there with all the sacrifice. They have children, they have families. They said sometimes the families have to back them up with the monies and everything. Some of them are young, but some of them are not young. There's some who are old. They're 30s, and which is not old, but they call older than normal. There's one lady in the equestrian that's like 58, I think, and just won a medal. I think it was for Britain, I think. And she just won a medal because you just have to be relentless. So when you see those things, don't just watch them. Get the motivation out of them. Get the message out of them. And another thing that really blessed me is that a lot of people, especially in America, are stepping up to help the athletes. Well, Snoop is all over the place at the NBC, so but like who would think Flavor Flav would be happy? He sponsored the whole water polo team, because most of them on there are average people, and they're working 2-3 jobs so they can even make it there and pay their bills and train and everything. So when he heard that, I think he said his manager told him, he said, oh, I need to step up and help them. And so he donated money and sponsored the whole team. So now he's here supporting them, and he's really doing a good job of it and bringing notoriety to the sport. And that's something that I never really heard of that before in the Olympics. So this year, I guess it's a new year, I guess, because I never heard of, people probably do it, but you never hear of it. And so it brought a light to what it takes to be there and how we can partner together to get things done. Even when you don't necessarily know each other, you just said, hey, I hear what they're doing. I like what they're doing. And I want to put my money to help them get to where they want to get to. And when they got the gold, I think they got the gold. He was right there. And he was with them getting the gold because he put his money where his mouth was. That's what we do, like when we do missions and stuff, when people go out to preach and they go out to minister to as missionaries. We back them up to send them because we see that they don't have what it takes, but we can partner with them to get done what we need to get done, what they need to get done. And so that's why I tell you this: just look at these things and understand you're unstoppable. When you work with people, your reach is broadened. Like you now have a wider reach because now it's not just you over here. You have just reached and helped somebody get to the end of the world, a whole different level, and your name may be called even if you're not there because you chose to partner and help get done what was necessary. And so I always tell people, don't ever limit yourself. Don't let people limit you. God didn't put you here for people to tell you what you can and cannot do. He put you here so he can tell you what you can and cannot do. And then you do what he tells you to do with joy. I always tell people, serve the Lord with gladness. If you don't serve him with gladness, the devil will get you sad and depressed and all kinds of stuff. And then you start backing away from God, and then you become a hot mess all over the place. Enjoy the life God has given you. Enjoy the mission he's put you on, and do it with grace and do it with joy so that you can have the impact God has placed you here to have. Empowered value, empowering value. Everywhere you go, somebody needs to be empowered. Somebody needs to be lifted up. Somebody needs to be blessed. Somebody needs to be put in a whole new trajectory to what God has called them to do. And that's what we tell you, serve him with gladness, and so you can be a blessing to others. Empowered value. That's what it's all about. One person helping the other and keep it moving. The circle of help, the circle of blessing going on all over the place. We're unstoppable because God is with us. And if God can be stopped, you can't be stopped. Period. That's what it is. You can't be stopped because God is with you. Scripture, we have two scriptures for today. Acts 12:5. Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God for him. That's another way you can partner with people. Pray without ceasing. I don't care what you see. You're unstoppable when you keep on praying. When you stand believing in faith. When you say, I will not give up until I see the answer to this prayer. They would not give up until they saw Peter released from jail. That's what unstoppable is, without ceasing. 24/7. They gathered in the house, a group of them, and they just kept praying. They prayed so hard that when the answer to their prayer came to the door and Peter came to the door, the girl was like, she didn't even know it was Peter. I'm not even sure if she expected it to be Peter. She was like, okay. And he said, I'm Peter. He said, now hold on. She said, let me go ask somebody. She went and got somebody and told him, somebody's at the door saying he's Peter. The person was like, what? Went to the door and realized the answer to the prayer was at the door and they didn't even know. That's how much they were praying. That's how much they prayed without ceasing. And so God will send the answer sometimes and you won't even know because you're just in the mode of praying and seeking God's face and believing him and walking by faith and not by sight and putting that laser focus on. So you can't be distracted by anything that's coming near you, far you, ahead of you, on the side of you, behind you. You're not seeing all of that because your focus is on the prize. Pray without ceasing. Intercede for people. Intercede for your country. Intercede for your schools. Intercede for your business places. Intercede for your hospitals. Intercede for your churches. Intercede for your homes. Intercede 24/7. Intercede for the entertainment industry because they're affecting us and they're affecting your children. So you need to pray. And that's what unstoppable means. Not wavering, not doubting, not backing down. We are going to keep praying until we see something happen. We are going to keep praying until we see the miracle. We are going to keep praying until we see change without ceasing. First Thessalonians 5:17 says, pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. Unstoppable. That's one of the ways for you to be unstoppable, to stay in a constant mode of prayer, a constant mode of talking to God, a constant mode of being aware that he is there and that any moment now he can send the answer to your prayer. As a matter of fact, the answer has already been done. We just have to see it manifested in the natural because everything happens in the spirit first. So when we get to that mode, we're like praying without ceasing and say, God, we're going to keep believing. We're going to keep believing for you to supply the money. They had to probably believe, some of them who were saved, for the monies to get to the Olympics. As a matter of fact, there's one person that won the gold for my country. Lord help us. One person. We haven't won the gold. I'm not sure if we ever won a gold. I think we won a medal, but we may not have won a gold because we don't send that many people. The Caribbean countries are smaller, have less financing and all that. So it's sometimes a little bit more difficult. But you went and got the gold. As a matter of fact, I think she got the world championship before the Olympics. And she's all in the glory. They didn't mention too much about it on the news because they're a smaller country. But and then one of the biggest upsets in the platform on the 100 meters was that girl from St. Lucia, another Caribbean island, that she just outranked the girl, the number one girl. I mean, I really didn't think she could beat Shakari. I really, really didn't think so. But ended up that was the day that she did it. Now she may not ever get to do it again, but she got her gold and Shakari got the silver. But they ran a good race, and I never heard of her. But you think it's I mean, you think it's far to come from America to go to Paris. It's doubly expensive to leave the Caribbean and go to Paris. I mean, that is like a trip by itself. Okay. And they had to put together the monies. I think sometimes the government supports them. Like here in the States, I think I just heard that there's a $200 million grant that they have that they disperse to different people throughout the years to help them prepare. But I guess it's not enough because there's so many people. But in the Caribbean, some people would get some money that may not be as much as that, but it'll be something that they can get and probably help them the uniforms and stuff like that. But she persevered and she pulled it off. And I was like, the first time I saw her was in the heat, and I'm like, oh, that girl's fast. We could have watched that, but I just didn't think she could beat Shakari. She did. And I don't think I'm not, well, I guess she did. You have to think you can to do, but she got the gold. And so, and then I think it's another one in my country, and then another guy from Grenada that got, I think he got a bronze medal in one of the races. So these are people persevering, not just from the States where you have a lot of training, from the Caribbean where the training and the trainers and the money is limited even more than the States. And they persevered and went all the way to Paris. I mean, and what a wonderful way to go to Paris. And what to come out with is a win, and not just a win, but well, and some of them are gold. And so I'm thinking, what better time for us to be motivated and encouraged to stand in our faith, to believe for what God has said, and to never waver or never doubt, because we know that God is backing us up. He's got our back. And that's the biggest back gotter in the world. And not just the world, in the hemisphere, is God. Because when he has your back, nothing shall be impossible unto them that believe. That's what the word says. Stand in the word. Everything you do, go back to the word. If it doesn't match the word, no. Period. So everything you do when you're thinking of doing, go to the word and see if it's lining up with the word. That's our standard. That's our goal. That's our motivation. That's what tells us what we should and should not do. And when you keep that standard, you can never go wrong. I tell people, if you keep the standard of the word, you won't miss it, because God can't miss it. And he knows the end from the beginning. And he gave us a standard to follow so that we will not falter, will not fail. If man fails, that's done, because we're humans. But if you keep God as your standard, even if man is failing, you'll be like, well, hold on, he did this. And I mean, yeah, but that does not match up to what God says. So I don't care if he's doing this. I'm not doing this, because that's not what God told me. And you have to keep that in your focus. You have to train your children like that. You have to train people like that, so that when things go awry, and these are the last days, a lot is going to go awry. People will not be falling all over the place trying to figure out what to do, because they know the standard. Go back to the word. Go back to what God says. Go back to what he's speaking of. Understand it, live it, and watch God do great things in your life. Unstoppable in the earth. My God, that thing bless my spirit. Okay. If like I said, the people of the world can be that, what about the people of God? We're supposed to be even more encouraged, even more focused, even more motivated, even more unstoppable, because we know the God who created heaven and earth. And we know the God who is our God, protecting us and preserving us. Okay, we have some more. Be unstoppable light. Oh my God. In this dark world, we need to be unstoppable light. And light in its definition cannot be stopped. Cannot be stopped. Because I don't care how much darkness you have. If you bring one little of light, like even the flashlight from this camera into a whole room of darkness, everything lights up. because that's the nature of light. It lights everything up. It cannot be stopped by darkness once it appears on the scene. If you have come and the light of God is in you and you're coming as a light, you cannot be stopped by anything unless you allow your light to be put out. Unless you put out your light and decide, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to fit in with the darkness. Oh, that's a wrong thing to do, because then you're not special and then you're a whole mess. Decide and be determined to be light and to stand out so that darkness can dissipate and light can appear. We want light in the world. People need light. Even if they don't tell you that, they need the light. And you have to be the light that God has called you to be. You have to be that empowered value that God has called you to be, to help motivate someone and build up someone and encourage someone and bless someone. Just like Jesus. They didn't want Jesus in the earth. They crucified him, but he was still light. And when he died, they had to say, surely this man was a man from God, because he continued to be light even to the cross. Unstoppable joy. My God, the joy of the Lord is your strength. Don't allow your joy to be stopped. The devil knows if he takes away your joy, he takes away your strength. If you allow the devil to hinder the joy that God has placed in you, he takes away your strength. So you got to fight for that joy. You got to fight to say, I'm going to be the most joyful people in the earth. I don't care what it is, because the joy of the Lord is my strength. I'm going to let that joy exude from me, abounding me to overflowing, because I need the strength of God. I can't function without the strength of God, because you got to fight a devil. I always tell people, you're not fighting people. That's why I tell you, stay laser focused. The distractions will come. You cannot get to the point where you forget that devil and start fighting people. Because as soon as you do that, he comes in and he is going to knock you out. You got to stay focused on who the enemy really is. It's the devil. Everything negative happening is stimulated by the devil. And you have to understand that. And when you stay in that mode, you can't be distracted by people. I tell people, oh, really? I cannot be distracted. I have to stay focused on the devil, because I know he's focused on me. Okay? You may not be focused on him. He's focused on you. Stay focused and realize the weapons of your warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Stay focused in the word, in your joy. Let that joy abound. If you got to put, we see some people walking through I'm seeing some people in my neighborhood. Stay focused on the joy. Get some worship music on. Get the word. The best way to maintain your joy is to read the word and just stay focused. I cannot lose my joy because I need my strength. I cannot get weak. I cannot get feeble. I need my strength, because I have a lot to do. I have a lot to do for God. I have a lot of people to empower, and I need my strength to do that. Empty vessels can't pour into somebody else to strengthen them. You got to keep yourself filled so that you can help minister to somebody else. And that is the whole thing. Some people, they try to minister to people and they're empty. You're not going to last too long with that, because people will draw on you. And if you're not putting in continuously, you're going to end up weak, feeble. That's where you get people depressed, suicidal, crazy, all over the place, because they're not strengthening themselves. Make sure you give yourself some self-love. Make sure you get yourself into the word. You treat yourself to I always say, pamper yourself. They're not going to pamper you more than you. Do what you got to do. You got to go get the nails done. You got to get the massages. You got to be careful with those massages, because I've heard some things. You got to get the facials. You got to probably may have to do a little shopping for yourself. Just take care of you. Get in the word. Pray. Do all these things, because you need that if you're going to be a blessing to somebody. If you're going to empower value in other people, you better have power in you. And some people try to empower people, and they're not empowered themselves. They don't understand the empowerment. They're not powerful. They're not maintaining their power, so they can't give to people. Always make sure you are filling your tank up so you can be a blessing to other people. Unstoppable creativity. Oh my God, that one right there. Unstoppable creativity. Oh, I'm hearing some thunders over in Norway. Unstoppable creativity. God is a creator, and he created you to create. So there should be no lack of creativity in you, because you were created in the image and likeness of God. Tap into the God you serve and say, God, you created me to create. Now you better show me how to create. Things are going to come your way. You got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to say, okay, well, this is one way. I got to be creative in that way. How can I create this in that? And then you just keep going with that. And you keep maintaining your creativity to the everything God needs you to create. Everything you need, God has already put in your hands, whether you know it or not. Create wealth, create healthy homes, create what else? What else? An environment, joyful environment. You have to create. It's in you to create. So find out what God is calling you to, because once you stop creating, that's when you get bored. That's when you get into a whole bunch of mess. That's when you get into a dull, into what's it? A dull, just a lull, a lull. There you go. That's when you get into that because you're no longer creating. So you're all over the place because you're not in your purpose. See, when you're not in your purpose, that's when you start feeling unsatisfied and this and that and all kind of crazy is going on because you're not where God wants you to be. You're not doing what God has called you to do. So that's why it's important to stay connected to God, to stay hearing his voice, to stay hearing what he wants you to do. Regardless, you're a business person, your family, you're a student, whatever it is. God, show me creative ways to get this done. Show me creative ways to get done what you need me to do. And he will show divine strategies, divine connections, and divine resources. And he will show them to you every single time. Unstoppable prosperity. There's one guy who listened to, he has that, one of his books, and that's such a wonderful book. If you get it, I think it's Charles Payne. It's one of those books about investing, and it is really a good book. Like really, really, really. I have the little ebook, and now and again I have to go back and reference it for things I'm doing with investments and stuff. But that's what unstoppable prosperity, divine strategies for unstoppable prosperity, passive income that's coming from the north, the south, the east, and the west. While you sleep, you're making money. That is what God wants us to do. And I'll be like I told you, I went on a whole not binge, but search and a research to find out how that can happen for me, because a lot of times we get caught up in everything we're doing, and I'm like, Lord, I'm working a little too hard and not making enough. Now something's wrong. And then I start praying for the strategies, and I start getting the strategies, and I hear different people giving the different strategies, and God himself to help me work strategies so we can create wealth. We can create the prosperity that we need for our family and for generations to come. Now, prosperity is not just in finances. It's got to be in your spiritual finance prosperity, your social prosperity, your relational prosperity, your mental prosperity, your educational prosperity. You got to say, God, I have to prosper in every way. Give me the strategy to prosper in every way, wherever I go, every day, while I sleep. And I've been praying about these things, and God has been giving them to me, and he's been getting me connected to hear people. And like I said, you may not meet them face to face. You get their book, you get their podcasts, you go to YouTube, you listen to different things. God will minister it to you personally as well. Keep your ears open for the answer to prayer so that when it comes, you won't miss it. That's what that little girl did. She almost missed Peter, the answer to their prayers. And she went to get somebody else, and they realized that's Peter, and they opened the door and he could walk in, because she didn't open the door. She said, there's a man outside, says it's Peter. And they had to come and verify. And then they said, oh my God, girl, open the door. The answer to your prayer is at the door, but you won't recognize it if you're not in sync with God. And that's why I always tell people, stay connected to the one who created you, the one who gave you purpose, the one who gave you value, the one who knows why you're here, and who knows your capacity, because we don't even know our capacity. God does, though. And he knows our capacity for good and evil. That's why he said, stay in the word, for the heart of man is desperately wicked. Who can know it? So he knows. When we find that out, we understand, realize, I got to stay connected to God, because I don't want that evil side of me popping out. I need to keep that, stay with God, so my righteous side could keep popping out. And that's what you have to understand. Your need for God is great. And the more you stay connected to God, the greater will your impact be, because he's the ultimate. Nothing else is bigger at all. Unstoppable praying, and we talked about it a while ago. Pray without ceasing. Unstoppable wisdom. That one right there. I always look at that guy, Solomon. He prayed for wisdom and became the wealthiest man on the earth. He didn't think to pray for wealth, because he was a prince. He was David's son, so he knew wealth. He knew kingship. His father was a king. So he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. But he didn't pray for that. What did he pray for? Wisdom from God. I need wisdom. Because especially when you get money, oh God, that's when you really need the wisdom. You got to have wisdom to fight off demons. You got to have wisdom to keep the money. You got to have wisdom to make more money. You got to have wisdom to know who to share the money with. You have to have wisdom on steroids. When you have to have wisdom on steroids when you decide to get, when you're wealthy, when you have anything you have to have wisdom. Because if you don't have the wisdom, you won't know how to use it. You won't know what to do with it. You won't know how to multiply it. You won't know how to preserve it from the thieves and the robbers and all that kind of stuff. You have to know those things. And you have to have a mindset that says, God, I need to know more. Show me more. And he will show it to you every single time. Wisdom, divine wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of God. That's what we need. So we need to get it. We need to get it because it's important that we get it. When we don't get it, there's a problem. And you saw him. He had so much wisdom, but in the end, he started to lapse when he started marrying all these women. That's one thing I'm telling. As a woman, I will tell a man, you don't need to marry many women. You don't need multiple women. One is enough. Can you start having multiples? That's a whole bunch of drama. I'm a woman. I can't even be around too many women too long. I'm like, oh, you can't do all that. I can't do it. And you have 1,000 wives and you have money and they have all different gods. You have to be a strong man to say, let me tell you something, one God. You come with your God from your home, but here, one God. But he wasn't strong in the end to handle that. And he started worshiping their gods and he started bowing to their gods. And that's where the problem happened. God had to take the throne from him and give it to his son. See, that's the thing. Wisdom is a wisdom you need to have unstoppable and consistent and continuous. Because once you stop having the wisdom of God, you start doing foolish. And the foolish will take you down every time. So wisdom from God, unstoppable wisdom that comes from the word of God, that comes from the voice of God, that comes from the revelation and that God will give you. You need to get in that place and say, oh God, thank you. Wisdom, unstoppable, on steroids. We need that wisdom so we can navigate well in the earth. Oh, Jesus. My God. Next. I think you have one more. Unstoppable victory. We need unstoppable victories. We're fighting and winning. And that comes in every area of your life. That comes in your personal. That comes in your business. That comes in your mental. That comes in your physical. That comes in your spiritual. That comes in your emotional. You are fighting battles all the time. But we need to have the victory. We need to have unstoppable victories in our lives. And only God can give that to us. I always tell people, stay connected to God and you will see things that you've never seen before. Because only God can do things that we've never seen before. So we have to stay connected to him. We have to stay in anticipation of the things he's going to do. In anticipation of the things he's going to say. With ears open and eyes open to receive everything he said. We have to have those victories. Because if you don't have victories against the devil, oh, Jesus. I mean, the fall will be great. Because I've seen a few in my lifetime, and it's not a pretty sight. We have to stay focused on who the enemy really is. That's the devil. When we do that, the victories will be unstoppable. The moment we start looking at people and start fighting people, that's when you fall. Because that's what, if you ever watch, like I like watching a lot of action movies, especially, and even some war movies, and even some of the they have some old, like where the kings and stuff were fighting and stuff like that. And if you ever notice, one of the major strategies they use to destroy their enemies is distraction. They will put something else and make you think it's one thing, and on the other end, here at the back end, here comes a whole bunch of warriors that nobody expected because you're focused in the wrong place. That's the devil all day long. He will send things to distract you. He will send activities. He will send people fussing all over the place. He will send wars and rumors of wars and things on TV. He will send all kinds of stuff. But you're the one who has to be prepared in the spirit to say, okay, I noticed this and I discern this, but I discern this is not where the war is. This is a distraction. So I would choose to stay focused so I can win the devil because he's coming with something. Anytime you see a whole drama and all that stuff happening, that devil's trying to do something. But on the other end, God is about to do something big in your life, and the devil is trying to distract you so he can either keep you from it or keep you from being productive in what God has called you to do. That's what he will do. And we have to understand that because he knows it. And if you don't know it, he knows. I always tell people, if you don't know your value, that devil knows. And you know he knows by the level of attacks and by the level of wars you have to fight in the spirit. So you know because something, that devil knows something I don't know. And I don't know what it is. Because this should be simple. But this is a problem. Why? When you start asking that, start going to God and start saying, okay, God, there's something you're about to do that I don't even know. But I'm going to stay in the spirit so that I cannot allow the devil to get me in my flesh where he can destroy me and distract me from my purpose. Stay focused. Stay focused, and you will be unstoppable in the earth. You'll be unstoppable everywhere you go. You'll be unstoppable in your family. You'll be unstoppable in your business. You'll be unstoppable in your whatever, your marriage. You'll be unstoppable in your academics. You'll be unstoppable in everything you set your hands to do. It has to prosper. That's what the word says, and we stand on the word. Okay.